But let's start on a positive note, because there are a lot of positive things to start this season off. A lot of surprises early on throughout the season. One surprise, I wouldn't really call it a surprise, but I feel like it's something we've kind of been waiting on, because I feel like one thing is, as far as players go, people have been trying to figure out what type of player Donovan Mitchell is. Is he a star? Mm-hmm. Is he a superstar? Can he get to superstar status? I feel like we were trying to figure that out for a very, very long time. And we're seeing him now with Cleveland. This looks like early on. I know it's early. I know they're like 5 games into the season, 4 or 5 games into the season. But from what we're seeing from him, this looks like, and I know it's early, this looks like the MVP run that we've been waiting for Donovan Mitchell to make. And like I said, I know it's early, just 5 games in, but there's no Darius Garland. He's been hurt for a good amount of the first couple of games of the season. We're seeing Mitchell average 31 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals per game. The Cavs are sitting comfortably in the Eastern Conference. They're great on both ends once again. Are you surprised at all from how well Donovan Mitchell's gotten off to the start of the season?
I'm gonna be honest, I'm not, because I've always like known him to be like a dominant scorer. Like even at like he's 6'1", I used to tell you like he's 6'1" all the time. You never believe me. Like he's 6'1", he just got long ass arms. That's why they call him Spider. That's why they call him Spider, because like a spider, he got spider legs and shit like that. But no, I actually expected him to be playing this well. I just felt like his tenure with the Jazz has just like drifted longer than probably what it should have, because they just seemed like they kept hitting the wall. I don't know why, because let's be honest, they probably had enough talent to make the finals. I just don't know. I don't know what it was. I'm be honest with you, because it never made sense, because they had enough 3-point shooting. They defended at times good enough to like advance to the next round. I felt like he just got kind of tired, honestly. Like I felt like one thing I could judge him for is like his shot selection in playoffs hasn't been that great. So I feel like he tires himself out taking them deep ass threes all the time when he doesn't really need to. But you mentioned Darius Garland like being out, but he also has another guard on his team that can average or score 40. We saw that last night when he scored. Caris LeVert, that's my boy. That's why I went the Lakers trade 4 hell ago, but it didn't happen. Caris LeVert and him scored 40. That was like the first guard duo to score 40 in a game since like Isaiah Thomas and I forgot the other dude.
Joe Dumars.
I think so. Yeah. 2 guards to score 40 in the same game. So that's crazy in and of itself. I mean, it still took them to go to overtime to beat them, but still, it's still a win. But when Darius Garland comes back, I'm interested to see how like all 3 of them mesh.
Very true. Very true. I really want to, like, I think that's the entire thing. It's great seeing Mitchell get off to this start. As I said, we were kind of wondering what kind of player he is. I remember back when the Knicks rumors were happening, we said, if he can end up bringing this Knicks team back to relevancy or back to like a comfortable spot in the Eastern Conference, or maybe actually make them contenders or something serious, and they still are pretty good to start the season off, but if he can get them there, it's going to put him into an entirely different tier, right? It can put him comfortably, because right now I don't know if he's a top 10 player. You know what I'm saying? But him being in a position like that would have at least ushered in that conversation. And so the way he's playing now, as I mentioned, 30 plus a game, just over 30 points a game. Yeah. He's doming the ball off at a high level. Defensively, Cleveland as a whole is looking great. This is, if he can continue this type of performance, this could be the type of stuff that can elevate and catapult him into that top 10 range. Because like I said, we've just been wondering where he sits at as a player. That's been the biggest question is, what type of guy is Donovan Mitchell? Is he top 10? Does he have superstar potential? If he can play this well on a consistent basis, that's going to answer a lot of those questions moving forward. So shout out to how D-Mitchell playing early.
That's why I don't know. That's why especially over the last couple of years, I've always respected Cleveland, because they built their team up through the draft and they figured, okay, we just need this one free agent and we got him, boom, to make us a legit contender. And that's kind of what they did. Yeah. If we being honest, besides like getting Caris LeVert and who else did they get? Jared Allen, everything like that. A lot of those players like drafted, like homegrown, as you call it. So that's one thing I respect about Cleveland.
Or they traded for young guys or younger guys before their all-star thing and they worked them up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So for sure. Yeah, I think and I think the question too is this a championship or Eastern Conference Finals level roster that Cleveland has right now? And we'll see, because last night against the Celtics in overtime, against a healthy Celtics team, that's a high quality win. And you mentioned the Caris LeVert thing. For him to score 40, your entire thing is always going to come down to how many guys do you have that can step up around your best players. So to know that Caris LeVert can pick up the slack, because we know Caris isn't a number 2 option, right? He may not even be a number 3. But just to know that you got multiple dudes who can step up behind your best players in those big games is great. And to see that he can do that against a team like Boston in overtime in Boston,
It's
it's confidence building for sure. So
if we question ourselves if is he a number 2 or 3 and he's putting up 40, that's a pretty good problem to have.
yeah,
If that
that's
makes
very
sense.
good.
I don't know if you all get that question, but if you question the dude, is he a number 2 and 3 and he can score 40, just don't even ask yourself that question. He can score 40. That's all you need to know. So
and can he keep it up? Because I remember early on in the start of the season for him, kind of rough. He's not putting up great efficient numbers or whatever. It's early. It's 5 games in, so he'll figure it out. But if he can end the season off like in that 15, 16 point per game range, and if he can end up having big performances in the playoffs, you know, if let's say a Darius Garland isn't playing that well, because we're still yet to see what type of point guard he is in games that matter, or you know, if Mitchell's having off nights. If you can have a guy, you know, like Karis LeVert who can step up like that and put up efficient numbers, that's going to be huge for them for sure. So, and we forget to mention Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. This team is still great
that's crazy.
Still great on the defensive end. So
didn't they draft Mobley brother too?
They did.
Did he make the roster?
I got to go back and look because I haven't really been watching Cleveland up and down and shit. But let me go back and check. But
the fact that they have a respectable offense and defense is going to be scary in the playoffs because they definitely had the trees to block shit at the rim and everything. If a small ass guard going to paint and everything, they'll swat that shit in their face. Yeah. So they definitely got like a well balanced like defensive roster and offensive roster.
Mm-hmm. And even last season, we talked about a lot. You mentioned a lot. I always pull up offensive rating or whatever, and they can have these great offensive ratings and all of that. But your thing with that or even you and Blake would always point this out. Yeah, they do, but is that good enough for the playoffs? Do they have those guys? There are teams who have great offensive ratings, but do they have those playoff guys? Now, picking up a Donovan Mitchell, we're more confident in those offensive ratings or whatever because they've got that guy now who we know can take over games. Garland, we don't know yet. Mobley, we don't know yet. You know, obviously Karis LeVert, we don't know yet. They've got that guy now, so you're a little more confident that the offensive rating is going to translate into big games and postseason games. So
I don't know if you noticed, but I've seen a couple of games. Mobley looks a little quicker, like making his decisions with the ball. Because, you know, kind of last year, he could dribble a little bit, but his movements kind of looked a little slow.
Real slow, yeah.
He kind of fast now because he got the ball on a fast break and was dribbling. I was like, who the hell is that? I was like, damn, that's Mobley. So he got better at dribbling and shit like that too. But honestly, my only fear, because I think they can make the Eastern Conference Finals, my only fear is like, I don't think Jared Allen and Evan Mobley can handle Giannis. That's my only fear.
Yeah, that's a big question. It's always going to come down to that. Or can they handle Embiid, right?
Yeah.
Or
even KD and Kyrie, if they make East Conference. It's questions like that. If they can, now I'm be honest, if they can handle one of them, I feel like they can handle the others.
Yeah, true.
Like if you can guard KD, you can guard Giannis. Because like those are two dudes that's the heart. Like we saw the Celtics. If you can guard KD, clearly they did enough against Giannis to win. So if you can guard one of them players, I think you would do fine against the others.
That's facts. That is facts. Yeah, and even like you mentioned, we also mentioned it too. They have a high defensive rating to start the season off, right? Always your thing is it's going, like you just said, it's going to come down to what they do have. Do they have the right matchups? Like sometimes those numbers, I get so caught up in those advanced rating numbers or whatever. I get so caught up in those. It's always going to come down to matchups, and that is a big question. Do they have those matchups moving forward to be able to stop Giannis and to be able to stop an Embiid? Do they have the defensive teams to be able to do that? That is a question for them moving into the season. So,
it can be tricky sometimes because you can have the best defensive team in the league, but you also can have like a middle of the pack offense and you struggle to score.
Yeah.
So, because that was with the Knicks like 2 years ago when they made that surprise like playoff appearance, or whatever. Like they defended real good. I forgot who was it. Atlanta they played.
Yeah, Atlanta got in the first round. Yep.
They defended okay, but they couldn't score shit. So like at that point, what's the point?
Yeah,
like you're not productive in the way you playing the game at that point.
Got to be balanced out for sure. But I like that Mitchell's doing this, and like I said, it's not about what he didn't show us in Utah, right? It's just they kept running into this wall, and we can kind of tell after COVID he didn't want to be there. Right. Like we just understood that. So it was kind of like, it's good to see him in a new environment. It's also a more energized environment. Right. Like Utah would have kept everything they had. It still would have been a great roster. Energy was just off. It's been the same thing year in and year out. You know, now you're in a new situation, a younger situation, you know, with a lot of guys who feel like they have a lot to prove and all of that. Yeah. I mean, you know, it gives you more energy and it makes you more confident. So there are a couple of small things, but from an individual standpoint, I like that Mitchell's playing his way, and I like to see how he continues to play with Darius Garland We saw flashes of it in the preseason. They look like they played really well off each other. We're going to see it again as they move into the as Mitchell, or excuse me, as Garland is back in the roster, because I think he's going to be back in a minute. So it may be a couple of games, but he'll be back in no time. So for sure.